migrants arriving via small boat.
It has been the one focus of politics.
Today we're going to talk about illegal immigration.
And protest all summer.
Illegal immigration.
And now to the autumn of asylum.
I now call the Home Secretary.
Dominating debate right from day one of the new term.
When we wave the Union flag, when we wave the St George's flag, when we sing God Save the King and celebrate everything that is great about Britain and about our country, we do so with pride because of the values that our flags, our king and our country represent.
Among them, she said, is fairness, including in the asylum system, which will change with immediate effect.
We are bringing forward new immigration rules this week to temporarily suspend new applications under the existing dedicated refugee family reunion route.
Refugee family reunion visas have soared in recent years. Almost 21,000 people were granted one in the year to June, up from 5,000 in 2011. The Home Secretary is temporarily suspending all applications, while also tightening up the asylum appeal system. And the Prime Minister added today that he wants to bring forward the promised closure of asylum hotels, as Labour's legacy becomes defined by channel crossings.
29,003 illegal immigrants have crossed the English Channel. That is the worst year in history, and everyone can see it.
But not everyone does see it that way.
Hi, it's about Joel, and we're here at the National Assembly in Abuja. And
Joel Mordy's story is also one of contentious flag flying. He organised the first Pride in Nigeria in 2019, before persecution forced him to flee to the UK. He says his family have since been subjected to acid attacks.
That's my mom. We're like two peas in a pod.
Some now have asylum here with him, but not his mother or brother.
Family reunification, pulling that away from us, it shouldn't be. Like I said, humanity should always come first. So I'm pleading to Yvette Cooper and everyone, who have the power not to take it away, because you're taking away lifeline.
Charities say ending official family applications may lead to more desperate crossings. Joel's used to raising his voice in politics, but the government's having to listen to louder ones.
Well, Paul is here as well as Robert to bring us his take. It certainly feels like the government is coming out of the blocks today, trying to get on top of an issue that has dominated politics over the summer. Paul, first to you. I mean, you've been out and about around the country in recent weeks and months. It is clear that migration is still a divisive issue.
Yeah, and I think this is an admission from the government today in some ways that it has lost control of the narrative, that others have set the narrative over the summer. And this is the dominant narrative now in politics by some margin. Immigration is the top concern, certainly among parliamentarians, also I think among voters according to the polling. And so no surprise today, first day back at term, the first person up at the dispatch box to make a speech is the Home Secretary on immigration or asylum. I thought there was some nuance actually in her speech today. She made a point, for example, of saying that Britain should be offering asylum to people fleeing persecution, people like Joel, who you saw in my report there, who's actually won a Diana Award for his contribution to society. And I think sometimes people like that get lost in this debate at the moment, people with really legitimate claims. His life was absolutely in danger in Nigeria. But this is a polarised debate that's going on at the moment. And the challenge for the government is it has made some progress over the summer. The deal with France, for example, was an achievement of sorts, this returns deal, but they're all quite sort of piecemeal achievements, gradualist, a kind of gradualist approach here. And if there's one thing, I'm sure Robert would agree, that we've learned from Western democracies lately is that radical is often far more popular than gradual, and there are plenty of other parties offering radical at the moment.
Yeah, Robert, as Paul was saying, it is a matter that really has dominated the agenda over the last few weeks. I mean, how important is it to the government that it is seen to be getting to grips with illegal migration and border security?
So, look, obviously there's this statistic of record numbers in the early months of this year risking their lives, in a way that's truly troubling to come across the channel to seek asylum. But to be clear, the statistic that Keir Starmer and his colleagues are focused on is the 10 to 15% lead that reform has in the opinion polls, almost all of which is attributable to the fact that Nigel Farage is more trusted on this issue than any other party leader. Now, as Paul has said, some would say that his solution, 600,000 deportations in the first year of a reform government, were there ever to be a reform government, is sort of simplistic and probably undeliverable. But to many British people, it is credible and it is the kind of boldness they claim they want. So it was a big moment for the Home Secretary today to persuade people that the government's more piecemeal approach will work. But thank goodness for them, they got a couple of years at least to prove whether or not it is working.
Yeah, indeed they have it. Robert, the Prime Minister began the new political term with the reshuffle inside number 10. Just a quick picture of where we are. Darren Jones, who is working in number 11 Downing Street as Chief Secretary of the Treasury, is moved into a brand new role, Chief Secretary to the Prime Minister. Sir Keir Starmer's also hired Manish Shafiq, the former Deputy Governor of the Bank of England, as Chief Economic Advisor. Robert, will this help to get the government back on the front foot, do you think?
Look, this is a very substantial change to the machinery of Downing Street, and it is a recognition by the Prime Minister that, frankly, his first year in government didn't work out terribly well for him. They were sort of battered by all manner of events, such as the small boats crisis, the fact that housing migrants in hotels has been so unpopular, welfare reforms that were overturned because of rebellions from his own MPs, all sorts of other changes that he had to go back on because they proved to be unpopular. Now, the point about these two big appointments that you've just cited are, one, in the case of Darren Jones, his job, and he's proved pretty effective at the Treasury when it comes to limiting public spending. His job is to corral all the different departments around the Prime Minister's priorities. As for Manish Shafiq, she is there to give the Prime Minister the authority to say to the Chancellor and the Treasury, actually, what you're proposing is wrong and can't be done. So, for example, it is widely thought that if he'd had a senior economic advisor, given that he himself is not an economic expert, when they came into government, that economic advisor would have persuaded the Prime Minister to veto that abolition of universal entitlement to the winter fuel payment, which turned out to be a political disaster. Up to now, basically, Downing Street has gone along with whatever Treasury officials have cooked up, much of which, frankly, has been muddle-headed and very unpopular. So this is really an attempt by the Prime Minister to get back at least some of that economic control. Yeah.